So
You know, Matt, the great Papa Roach told us that the scars remind us that the past is real.
uh, have you started? Is this it?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Well, for the people that are watching and not listening, that's my answer to you. That's what I think about our scars.
Okay, fair enough. Um, Hi everyone. We're coming at you a couple days early because Matt has to fly across the country. Whatever. So
It's a production meeting with our Seattle
that's
correspondent.
true. That's true. That's true.
Big plans coming to the KMWP.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We're expanding.
Yeah. Uh, but this is good because I wanted it's good we're recording a couple days early because I I been needing to get some stuff off my chest as far as Sunday night goes. Not get off my chest, not in a bad way, but I just need to get this out to someone, and yeah. So
I thought you were going to launch into the pipe bomb
no,
promo.
no, 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 no. No, I'm
So
actually
see,
I I'm actually in. I can already tell from before we hit press record. Like I'm in a much better place than you are with the whole thing. So we'll get to it. Um, but yeah, we'll get there. If you could leave a thumbs up in this video and subscribe to the channel. I've actually to put some music back into Music and Moonsaults. I started posting some bass covers. Posted the first one this past Saturday, and I can't remember if the next one's coming out either this Saturday or the following Saturday. But I recorded two this weekend. I'll record them a couple of times and sprinkle them in there and stuff like that. So, but just live up to the name of the channel, I guess.
and I will be doing moonsaults off the roof in the spring. So
Perfect, perfect. Um,
we'll, we'll see who gets more rotation, me or Jeff Hardy.
yeah. um, Before we get to the unfortunate demise of our beloved Detroit Lions on Sunday, there's this little thing called the Royal Rumble on Saturday that we should spend some time on, and also we should probably go through and update our what we kind of look like the Mania cards going to look at, because there's been a lot of between injuries and and stuff like that. Like we there's some changes to be made. There's a lot of it's probably still the same, but other stuff we gotta change. But I mean, we don't have to spend a bunch of time on the Rumble itself. Um, uh, just real quick, just some real quick thoughts. The show started out with the women's Rumble. Bayley won. I think that's probably the right choice. Becky really didn't need the accolade. Um, she's already won one. She can win the chamber or whatever else she needs to do to get to Rhea. Um, I thought this was the better of the two Rumble matches of the night. Um, and I thought specifically that the first third and the second third of the match were both really strong. The middle was kind of especially when Maxine Dupree got in there and tried doing whatever the hell she was trying to do. That wasn't great, but I thought, like I said, the first third with Naomi coming back and them bringing in Jordan Grace for an
Yeah.
appearance, that was awesome. And then you get towards the end of the match, Jade Cargill making her in-ring debut for the company and looking really, really good. And you can just already tell, like, that crowd in Tampa was loving them some Jade Cargill in that match, and they made her look really strong and everything. So there's something.
I, I would argue they handled her debut better than almost any debut they've handled in a long. And I'm not talking about like oh, they were gone for 10 years and came back. I don't count Cody in that. I don't
Right.
count Punk as that. Like, just, hey, this is a new star we're bringing in.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like when they brought Sheamus in and had him beat Cena for the title right away. Like, it let you know, okay, they're not just bringing her in and easing her in. They've got a plan to at least to start, showcase her as a top tier. There's no moving up the card for her. She's right to the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did the face off with her and Bianca. And I have a thought about that when we get to kind of going over Mania, what we would think Mania might look like. But yeah, like I said, right call with Bayley winning. You know, I already the memes were going with the you know, Batista doing the thumbs up, thumbs down with the clipboard. And they had Bayley's face on Batista's body, and they had EO and Dakota Kai on Flair and Triple H's body from that.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny. But yeah, I'm looking forward to do that. You know, the Mill 2 matches were whatever. I actually liked the finish of the. Oh,
hold on, real quick. I thought the Women's Rumble was the best match on the entire card.
Oh,
I didn't even
absolutely.
think it was really that close. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about R-Truth trying to enter the Rumble.
Oh.
And getting out there going, where are all the guys?
Yeah.
And like not all this, Adam Pearce coming out and like, no. And he's like, what happened to your hair, Nick? Like,
yeah.
just my big, and we still have to talk about the other two matches. I'll just save this point for later. I want to make sure we shout out R-Truth for that spot. Whoever came up with it was that's brilliant. I mean, it was a perfect way to showcase him again in the middle of the night. So
yes, yeah, he's been, ever since he came back, he's been just doing great stuff. I wasn't really going to talk about the Mill 2 matches a whole bunch because there's not much to them. The Fatal 4-Way was just the same old shit. I'm so like at this. Obviously, I'm hoping it is indeed going to be Cody. But at this point, I don't care. It could be The Rock. I don't give a shit. Someone's got to get the belt off this man. It's just gone on too long. It's just the same shit over and over and over again. And it's just.
How many people were in the stadium?
48,000, something like that.
It's not going to change.
No,
they don't have to do anything with him.
Sure.
They could leave it on him for another 2 or 3 years. They're so hot right now, and they've created another real championship. For your sake, I hope your boy wins it. I'm not so sure I don't think whomever faces Roman has to win. I think the feeling amongst fans is, but if business is still skyrocketing, and every time he shows up, the ratings go up. They do a bigger house than they did the last time. They keep drawing more eyes to these shows. Like, there's no reason to take it off of him.
I suppose it's just yes, you're right. It's just, unfortunately, creatively, it's so stagnant. I mean, thankfully it was only like a 19-minute match. Like, it wasn't, you know, how some Roman matches can go where it's 40 minutes and then at the end of the 40 minutes we get here comes Solo Sikoa. Oh, here the babyface gets the visual pin on Roman. Oh, interference.
No, I totally agree. It's that style of WWE booking has bothered me for years. It's part of the reason why I took a break.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I just don't see them changing it. The machine is humming along, and at least for me, I'm not entertained 90% of the time when I watch their shows. If I watch a whole episode of Raw, I find a few things that I'm like, yeah, that was good, but a lot of it I'm bored with. The entire program, Royal Rumble was a terrible show to me.
It wasn't very good,
but it did phenomenal numbers. And if you look on the internet, people are like, "Oh, it was so amazing." Okay, well, for me, it doesn't connect, but it's clearly doing something. And if they're putting on massive houses, and everywhere they go, they're making money. I don't think they have to change it because they can just bounce the Seth title back and forth if you want to do a world title match.
Right. True.
It clearly doesn't matter to the fan base. The fan base that is paying hard-earned money, it clearly doesn't matter to them. They're, as long as they get to come out and go, whoa, and yeah, that's what they're there for, and it's
Right.
working for them.
Right.
No shame, not trying to hate on what's working for them.
Sure.
It just, for me, it's
right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I agree with everything you're saying. So it's just a little bit frustrating. That's all. You'd like it so that, like, in a perfect world, what makes them money and what's creatively satisfying for some of us it would be one and the same, but that's not always the case. So obviously, but
and with that, real quick, and then I'll move on. I also wonder if it was a situation with Orton just got back. He's probably not in top tier mode. AJ just got back. Same thing. LA Knight is a character. He's not going in there and putting on 5-star matches. And Roman is what Roman is. I just think this was like, let's get some names out there. It'll create some maybe someone will beat Roman because it's 4 or 3 on, he's only got a 25% chance, and it was a headline match, a marquee.
You and your analytics.
Oh, we're going to talk about some analytics.
Yeah, no, it's just, whatever. I did like the Owens Logan Paul match. I like normally I'm not big on DQ finishes on pay-per-view. This one I think worked. Where it looked like Kevin Owens outsmarted Logan Paul, but then forgot to get rid of the brass knucks. So I liked it. It was fine for a mid-card match there on the Rumble. So
I feel like if there were 1 or 2 other matches on the show, I wouldn't have had as much of a problem with it. But when you're already only giving us 4 matches and 2 of them are Royal Rumble matches, which are pretty hard to get too excited for a lot of the time, I thought this could have been a little better, but whatever.
Yeah. Fair. And then the men's Rumble, and Cody goes back to back. I really thought for sure that. I mean, it got down to the 2 guys it needed to be, and obviously they picked the right one going in, and we'll get to that. I don't know. I just don't. I don't want to say the Royal Rumble's broken, but it's like
it hasn't been good for a long time.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is. Like,
well, I can tell you. Go ahead.
Why do you think that this is the case?
I think part of it is they're doing 2 a year now, so the concept is overdone. And it's not to say the women don't deserve a Royal Rumble, but I think they need to split it up into 2 different times of the year, or they got to figure out a different way of going about this, because 2 in one night, it just gets boring. And, one of the things that was being brought up about the women's Rumble is that it's the first time they haven't had to use legends, which is great. I'm happy that they've got enough people on the card to do so. But I don't know if you noticed it, and it was definitely on social media after the show. Half those people that came out, nobody knew who they were, and if they did, they didn't care. These matches, I feel like the business side of like, well, we got to figure out who's going to Mania is obviously the most important part, but they've got to figure out something in spots 1 through 20 where it's entertaining, where there's something going on that makes the match feel fun until we get down to the business side of it.
Right.
Back in the day, not to bring up he who shall not be named, but when him and Hardcore Holly and Eddie beat the living shit out of Daniel Puder for like 6 minutes in I think it was the 05 Rumble.
05,
that was fantastic. And it killed a part of an early part of the match where you're like, isn't this great? Ha, ha, ha. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not just like, okay, when is the guy who I think is going to win coming?
Right. Yeah, no, that Rumble itself is a perfect example because you had that. You had the Muhammad Hassan bit where he comes in and everyone from both shows were like, let's chuck this guy out of here. And there was a bunch of stuff like that. So, no, you're right. Yeah, I don't know. And I think that's part of it is like for the women, like you said, it's good that they're in a spot where they don't need the legends. But for the men, like they don't need it either, obviously. But I just think it would help. Like there's nothing wrong with sprinkling in, a couple. Like, I'm sorry, like I don't understand. Just get X-Pac, like have him come out one of these years, and have a couple minutes shine. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It just seems so.
He comes out, no one thinks he's going to win, but no one thought Santos Escobar was going to win either.
Right.
And I get it. You want to, and maybe he's a bad example. There were probably other people that Kofi didn't really. If he's not going to go out there and do the Kofi bit, why is he in the Rumble?
Right.
Like the Pat McAfee stuff. That McAfee thing. If it's true that they didn't tell him and they wasted a Rumble spot just to pull a rib on McAfee. Is like, come on, what are we doing, man?
Yeah.
I don't know. After the show, I might rank that as like one of the 3 or 4 worst Rumble matches of all time. It was boring. It was like watching paint dry.
Yeah, it was. There's one. I thought Braun Breaker was awesome.
Who?
Braun Breaker.
Who's that?
Steiner's kid.
Oh, the guy that filled in for the lawsuit guy. He's not gonna be around anymore.
Yeah. I think he's got the best spear out of anybody now. His spear is phenomenal. That one he hit on Ivar, whew, buddy.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he'll be coming up real soon to the main roster. They gotta fill him in to take over for old Moose Boy. Which, if that was the case, if the plan all along was to bring that guy back just to have him go fight Mysterio, like that was going to be your big moment in the Rumble. That was it. Like even that would have felt to me like, oh, okay, he's just going to run through Judgment Day now. Right.
So, I don't know. I know who Braun Breaker is. What I've seen of him, he's still got some growing to do.
Sure.
But the stuff he does well, he does really well. Mm-hmm. And you can see why they're excited about him.
Yeah, for sure.
You're right. That spear and that clothesline where he's getting going 100 miles an hour, like. And look, he looks like a psychopath. And
mm-hmm.
if you know anything about his family, like, you know what's in there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. He sounds just like his uncle, too, when he talks. Like,
they should have had him breaking down Roman's percentage of winning at in the Fatal 4-Way.
They should have. So yeah, Cody wins, and he points at Roman, because I did like that, how they had the champions up in the skyboxes. During that, but yeah, he points at Roman, and you're like, okay, here we go. Fast forward to last night, and we got Seth Rollins coming out, and like, you should face me, and I'm like, what? Why?
You might not even be at the show. Like, what are you talking about?
They can't do. They can't possibly do this to me, can they? I mean, they can, but like, they wouldn't, would they?
It all depends if Dwayne signs on the bottom line or not. That's it. Like, if Dwayne says, yeah, I want to do it, and we're going to do it at Mania, that's going to be the match. And they like, I love that people are like, oh, he was hinting at it on ES. Hint? He flat out said, yeah, we're talking about it. And the only place to do it is WrestleMania. There was no hint. That was, if we do it, it's happening at a WrestleMania. It could be this year, it could be next year, but that's the match. Whenever he decides he's ready, that's the match, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the other side, having Cody go against Seth, that's to me, to quote Jim Cornette, flatter than a plate of piss. Like,
yeah, I still think the Rock thing is next year, and I think Cody said he's going to be on SmackDown this week. I just think that they're just. I think they were just buying a little bit of time because obviously with Punk being hurt, and we'll talk about that here in a second. They're scrambling now. They got to figure out what they're gonna do with the other belt, at Mania.
There's a solution right in front of them. If he can't go, if Seth can't go, you have him come out whenever they realize he can't make it, and that's when Damian cashes in. You do Damian and a babyface that's never had a main event. You could do Damian and Sami Zayn. You find another babyface to go about it, and you just have Damian beat him, so that Priest can get his title run going until Seth is ready to come back.
See, I think Seth is going to wrestle, though. I think that they are working under the assumption that with rehab and whatever, by the time Mania gets here, Seth's going to be able to go.
Maybe, but he could get hurt in rehab. I'm just saying if they can't make that match, but I don't know. I don't know what else they do with Seth right now. It's really hard to build a match when he can't be in the ring, and the guy he was supposed to face is kaput, and you haven't really built anyone else up to be on that level. Like, that's why I say the option is right in front of them. You just get the belt on Priest and start building towards a match with him at Mania, and then if Seth can go, you figure a way to get Seth into it. But we're what, less than 6 weeks away, or close to 6 weeks away from
67
the show?
7 days.
So what's that? Oh yeah, a little longer than that. So 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So you don't got a lot of time to really build these things up properly. And if you're going to wait 3 or 4 weeks to figure out, okay, Seth looks like he could make it, I feel like they're risking not having a proper story for their real world title heading into Mania.
Right. And that brings us to wrong graphic. Yeah, they're
C. Montgomery Punk.
Yeah, they're running into a little bit of an injury bug here lately between Seth and I guess Owens worked that match with Logan Paul with a fracture in his foot. And CM Punk. I texted you during the Rumble. I
thought he was just selling.
Yeah. I was like, that does not, especially because you saw him talking to the referee. I'm like, that does not look good. But he finished the match, and I don't remember him not using that arm. So I was like, okay, maybe he was just selling. Maybe he just had a scare and ended up being okay. We're good. And then the report started, Sunday into Monday that no, he's really hurt and tore his tricep. So he's on the shelf now, and he's not. I don't know, man.
Somewhere in Phoenix, Arizona, Kevin Nash is laughing his ass off right now. It is, dude ran his mouth for years about old timers not being able to go and stuff, and every time he gets in the ring now, he falls apart. It's heartbreaking as a fan of his to know how much it all means to him, and his body just clearly isn't. He can't do it anymore. He can't do it at the level he thinks he can, and at his age, he can't go out there and wrestle 20-minute high impact match, and he got hurt on a basic move. He's still among the best of the best when it comes to talking. That promo last night was fantastic. That felt real.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've heard him acknowledge his UFC career, in a way of I got the crap kicked out of me. It was awful. but once that damn bell rings, he botches a ton of moves. He looks slow. He's getting hurt. Like, it really sucks because you waited so long for him to come back, and we got 6 months, 8 months of fun times, and it's been nothing but headaches and drama and disappointment. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the word. It's disappointment. I'm just tired of being disappointed by him.
Yeah.
And it's not that he does it on purpose, but it's it's still the reality of the situation.
Right.
Like, everything you do is a letdown for your fans right now. It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I didn't like hearing that cuz I thought he was going to finally be able to, check that off his list there of, the whole Mania thing. But it's not to be. And I don't know, like, what the solution, like, because, like, he did, when he first showed up in AEW, he was wrestling quite often, and he was fine up until, he won the belt and decided to go stage diving, and then that just kind of set everything
I hadn't
off.
even thought about that. I hadn't thought about that part of it either. Like, the whole thing got kicked off by him trying to do something fun with the fans and hurting his foot.
Yeah.
And he's talked in the past about, like, overcompensating for injuries. And not that I'm a professional athlete by any sense of it, but, like, if you hear athletes talk about one of the worst things you can do with an injury is try to compensate for it, because that's when you hurt other things.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be what I hurt my foot. I got to be a little more careful. Oh, I tore my tricep. I can't land on my left arm. I better make sure I'm landing on my right a little more. Oh, shit, I just tore that one. Yeah. Like, maybe that's it. And that's just speculation, but it's just,
yeah.
At this point, it doesn't even matter. I'm not even interested in the chase anymore. Like, he comes back in September. I'm not gonna get excited.
Right.
Because and not that I think he'll get hurt again, but it's just, how many times are you gonna do this where it's, how many times is he gonna finish his story?
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. How many times can we have the return of CM Punk?
Right. And the other part of it too is, like, I get, he's a massive star and stuff, but how would you feel if you're these other guys that were pretty much told, like, sorry, man, Punk came back, he's getting the spot, and then 4 weeks later, turns out Punk and Seth aren't getting the spot, we need you again, pal. Like, oh, suddenly now I'm good enough? I don't know. I take that as a little bit of an insult if I were those guys. But
right,
some people use that as fuel to prove why they should have had the spot in the first place.
Yeah.
A la Punk at WrestleMania 29.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that they used it as a way to further Drew,
mm-hmm.
And really, like, show that, he's not a tweener. He's a heel, who's just very convinced that he's right.
Yeah. Yeah, very much. And his social media game has been on point ever since last night too. So, and when Punk does come back, assuming Drew's still in the company, I still don't know if he is or isn't re-signed. But you got a ready-made feud. I think as we kind of transition here to kind of try and put together this Mania card real quick, I think that's who's going to get the Seth match now, is Drew again, which it's kind of feels anticlimactic because they did, they had a pay-per-view match and then they did the Raw match,
mm-hmm.
and so it's like, do we? But like you said, unless they did the cash in, and I don't think they're ready to do that quite yet. I think it's going to end up being Drew.
Maybe, and I don't hate it, but it'll be flat. The other thing, I wouldn't hate a fatal 4-way either.
Mm-hmm.
Where you spent all this time building Sami Zayn up,
mm-hmm.
and we've talked about it on this show for months. Like, it didn't take long for him and Kevin to feel less than.
Mm-hmm.
Heat him back up. Get him in a world title match at WrestleMania. Make him feel special to the audience again. He doesn't have to win, but at least to give him something to sink his teeth into heading into Mania. Because otherwise, if it's just him in an underneath match or something, you know his heart isn't going to be in it. How could it be? You go from the main event the year before to middle of the show, like that's not.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. He came back at the Rumble. He wrestled Drew last night, so maybe maybe they do some sort of multi-man, depending on what the chamber looks like. Whether they do, they're going to do a couple chamber matches. It's just a matter of what the stakes are. Whether they're for titles or for title shots or whatever. So we'll see. But real quick, so we had Roman versus Cody when we did this the first time, and I'm still gonna go work on the assumption that that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, me too.
And
I will consistently stand by until Dwayne signs the contract. Cody and Roman is the match.
Yes. And I think Bayley and Io is a go. We had that. And I think Rhea versus Becky still is the way they're going to go. So we got those three that are the same.
Did we have Jimmy versus Jay?
We did.
And the Rumble did nothing but reassure me that that's happening.
Right. So Seth, we want to go with Seth Drew for right now.
You can go Seth Drew.
What do you want to do?
Seth Gunther.
Yeah. But you got to get the IC title off of Gunther somehow.
No, you don't. You have him drop the belt having never been beaten for it. Just to give him something to hang for the rest of his time. He's the man who never actually lost the Intercontinental title.
I just hate vacating titles. Like, especially, I hate, like, if you got to do it because of injury, that's one thing. But just, I don't want this one anymore. Like,
you don't have to make it I don't want this one. It's that he's beaten everybody. Like, I know Sheamus is on social media like, I'm coming for... Are we really going to do that match again? Really? It's again, not to repeat it, but it's the same as the Drew Seth. Like, we've seen it so much, we don't really need to see it again. It is where my head is. And like I said, it's a thing where Gunther can have that as his. Oh, Brock Lesnar is he who can't be named is the 1-21-1. Like it's one of those calling cards. I think for Gunther. That, just something for them to add to the resume down the road. And these titles don't mean crap. Your world heavyweight champion on Raw, they literally had to just make a title up for him because they didn't know what to do with Roman because they booked them. They just make these things up as they go. They're props. They don't mean anything. The person behind it is what makes it. And Gunther makes the Intercontinental title interesting if he's just like, I won the world title. I'm not defending this anymore. They can find someone else to make the IC title interesting again.
I guess. I just think you can help someone having them beat him.
In an ideal world, yeah. But they don't do stuff like that.
Sometimes. What if this New Day is leading to the return of Big E?
I think that's where it's going. I think that's what this whole thing is about. I feel like Gunther's bigger than that. And no disrespect.
That's fair.
I mean, you could have made the argument last year Gunther should have been in one of the main event title matches. Or it should have been in a much more high profile match. He's ready for it. At some point, you got to stop. You got to get him out of the mid card and make him a top tier act.
Right. Okay. We'll go Seth Gunther. That's fine. How we still feel about LA Knight versus Logan Paul?
I think that's a lock. I shouldn't say a lot, but I still feel good about that right now, especially after, the Rumble, and I feel like Logan getting closer and closer to, what you've been pushing of him with Waller and Theory. Those three against an LA Knight, I think is money on promos, and it's a way to drag that feud out without Logan being there every week.
Right. I just love the idea of a group of just absolute shitbags.
Yeah. You need people you need acts that people legitimately hate. That's
and then we had Randy versus Solo.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Can you think of anything better to do with Randy or Solo at this point?
I mean, Solo's going to be around the main event no matter what. Randy and Solo still makes sense to me because going into this thing with assuming that Cody's going to be chasing Roman again, who does he turn to watch his back? Well, Randy's had problems with these guys for years. You get a little, reformation there, and then it leads to Randy versus Solo at Mania. You could do Randy versus Solo night one of WrestleMania, and the winner is the enforcer of the,
right.
If we want to do Attitude Era style booking. But yeah, and that way those four are kind of kicking around each other for several weeks leading into the show.
What's Ted Jr. doing?
I'm not sure if he's locked up yet, but
all right, so we move Gunther in the World Title match. We're not going to do Gunther versus Dragunov. I don't think they're calling Dragunov up anyhow now. We had Sammy and Nakamura.
I think it's Sammy and Drew.
They ran that match in the ground already, though, too.
I mean, they had Drew put Sammy away for several weeks, and then Sammy came right back and win it. Well, actually, that was on Raw this week.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's a good. See, I tuned out of Raw after Punk's thing. I was like, I'm not watching.
Fair. The DIY Judgment Day match was really good.
I've heard it was fantastic, but I'm not going to go back and watch it.
Sure. That's kind of how I feel about the 6-man elimination cage match from Collision on Saturday. I've heard it was fantastic, but the chances of me going back and watching that are slim to none. But yeah, Sammy versus Nakamura.
Sure, why not?
You still think Ray versus Dom?
If Ray's, he's supposed to be back.
Right,
yeah,
that's right. He's on the shelf too. You could do Andrade versus Dom, I guess. Now that Andrade's back,
you could, or you could do Miz and R-Truth versus Dom and JD McDonough.
See, I think,
or it could be Miz and R-Truth for the the tag titles too.
Yeah, I think that's what we're doing. So we'll do Andrade versus Dom, and then we'll do Awesome Truth versus Judgment Day for the tag titles. We had Charlotte and Bianca. Obviously, Charlotte.
That ain't happening.
Obviously, Charlotte's on the shelf.
Well, I think we know what the fill-in there is.
So, but see, here's the thing. Here's what I think. I wouldn't do the one-on-one match. I would team them up. I would go Bianca and Jade versus Kabuki Warriors for the women's tag team titles.
Yeah.
And then
You can do that too.
You can build like a year-long Mega Powers-esque story and do Bianca and Jade. Maybe you don't even wait till Mania. You can do it at SummerSlam or something. But yeah, you have them together and then you build to a match.
And you could even do the thing where like Bianca's helping Jade along, and then Jade gets the ego and is like, "Oh, I'm the star here," and then Bianca turns on Jade instead of what people would think would be the obvious. Huh?
Yeah.
And then Sasha Banks comes back. Just so Sean Ross Sapp can get yelled at by idiots on Twitter.
Yeah. Yup. And the other match we had was AJ Styles versus Bobby Lashley. I don't think that's anymore because I think Lashley's a babyface and he's doing the feud with him and the Prophets are feuding with Authors of Pain and Karrion Kross.
What do they call that group?
I heard the Testament.
I think you forgot the. Did we talk Rhea Ripley versus Becky? I think that's.
Yeah, no, we
did we mention that?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just put I still think they should be called the Almighty Prophets. That's what I'm gonna put.
I'm trying to go through my head. Is there anyone? I mean, Owens is missing, but he's hurt.
Owens is missing. AJ's missing.
I mean, Otis and Gable are on TV all the time.
They are. I think they'll do because
a battle royal. They got to do the Andre Battle Royal, right?
Yeah, because you got them. You got DIY. You've got
the other guys in Imperium.
The other guys in Imperium. New Day. You got the warring LWO factions.
Yeah.
You can do that. It's a lot of 2 6-man tags, but whatever. I think they should make SmackDown instead of splitting the tag titles back up. I think you should just consolidate them in one and make SmackDown the trios show. Because between the two different versions of LWO, Bobby and the Prophets, and then this new Final Testament group, and then the Bloodline, AJ and Good Brother, like they've got a lot of 3-man groups over there.
Sure.
But all right, that's good for now. We'll maybe after Chamber we'll come back to this again. All right, let's talk about it.
Pat McAfee's return, or that he's the Monday Night Raw commentator now.
Yeah. That's not what I was referring to, but yeah, that's pretty crazy. I was not expecting that, so good for him.
Oh, you wanted to talk about that new Justin Timberlake single. Did you finally get to hear it?
Still haven't listened to it yet.
Okay. Did you see Saturday Night Live?
Did not. Totally forgot about it after we talked about it last week.
Oh.
Was it
outstanding? It had a couple segments that were funny. He debuted a second song. I like that one more than I like the Selfish, but we'll see.
Okay. He's on tour. He's not coming anywhere near us. Well, Cleveland, I guess.
Cleveland.
But
yeah.
No, we got to talk about Sunday, Matt.
Oh, the pizza I had?
Sure. What kind of pizza did you have?
Well, plain cheese pizza.
Oh, okay.
I was very basic. I couldn't eat. There was something going on. Had me nervous, but I couldn't eat. What else did I do on Sunday? I don't know. It's kind of a lazy day.
Yeah. There was a football game that night. Does that ring a bell?
Nope. Saw a choke job, but I didn't see a football game.
Oh, okay. All right.
I saw a football game in the afternoon. I did see that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that had a choke job too.
And Taylor Swift's boyfriend's going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. And who are they playing in the Super Bowl?
I assume a team headed up by Scooter Braun. I don't know. Can you tell I really don't want to talk about this? Like, really don't want to talk about this.
I can, but I think it'll be cathartic if you do talk about it.
I think you and me are gonna end up arguing, but whatever.
That's fine. We can argue.
Go ahead.
I want you to go first because like I said, you're the one that obviously has stuff that he needs to work through in regards to.
No,
this.
I don't have stuff I need to work through. I think I'm gonna ask that you go first because I know what you're going to say, and my reaction is based on things that people like you are going to say.
Well, I don't know. Like, I just don't. Like, obviously, I'm disappointed, and obviously, it was heartbreaking. But and this was before the news broke today that Ben Johnson's coming back. Like, I don't know. I just felt by Monday, like middle of the day yesterday, I was just like not fine with it, but I don't know. I just don't. I'm just not in the state of depression that a lot of people are in. And I think part of it is because I don't. While what Dan Campbell said in the post game about nothing's guaranteed and all that kind of stuff, like that is absolutely true. I just am choosing at this point not to live in that world of fear of them never getting back to this point. That's a 3 to 4 years down the road Kris problem, where if they don't ever come back to this, then I'll be like, I will look back at this and be like, yeah, that was really bad. They should have, but right, like I don't know. I'm just not. Yeah, I'm just not as distraught as most people are.
3 words.
Okay.
Same old.
Oh, don't.
Lions.
All right.
And here, no. See, this is why.
We had a great show, everyone.
Fine, cut it off. If you don't want me to explain it, cut it off. I'm fine with that.
Go ahead.
If they lose the game, no. Here's the thing: if they lose the game, exact same score, but it's just San Francisco makes a couple more plays than us, makes a couple more. Just Brock Purdy did what he did, and for whatever reason broke off a 20-yard scramble. Whatever. I'm not saying those words. You are the 1 in 21-1 of teams, and that's the actual stat, 21-1 of teams in the NFC or AFC title games, leading by 17 points or more at halftime and losing. You're the only team that ever did that. You were 26 minutes away from putting them away, and the play that changed the whole game is your defensive back has a ball hit him right in the face and then pops into the air, and the wide receiver makes a miraculous catch. If I told you that was going to happen in the second biggest game of the year, and you had to bet everything you own on it being a player from any team in the league, who would you have put the money on?
Well, of course, the Lions.
The Detroit.
That has nothing to do with SOL.
No. Here it is. It absolutely does. Because what is part of the other parts of SOL? Coaches making the stupidest decisions throughout the game on a consistent basis. I'm not talking about the 4th down plays. I don't like that he went for 4th down. I thought he should have taken the points. But I understand why he did it both times. I get it. For whatever reason, he doesn't trust Badgley. I blame it more on Brad Holmes not finding a kicker. You knew you didn't have a kicker in August. You knew you were going to be playing, hey, we're going to go win a division title. We're winning home. You think you might need a professional kicker to do that, Brad? But they didn't go handle that. They didn't go figure it out. But the other things I have problems with are 3rd and 4, and you're running the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown. David Montgomery has been dicing them up. Jahmyr Gibbs had been dicing them up. And you're handing the ball off to a wide receiver, and you're not even running behind your all-pro right tackle. Funny how when they were just running the ball behind Sewell in the first half and early in the second half, San Francisco didn't have an answer. But genius Ben Johnson has to get cute in the biggest game of the year, including running the ball on 3rd down, at 3rd and goal with under a minute left, with 3 timeouts, and costing yourself a chance to get back in the game because you got to be the smartest guy in the room. Ben Johnson, the creative genius. Greg Olsen is screaming in the press box, you can't run the ball here. Anyone who's played Madden for any sense of time in their life goes, you can't run the ball here. The timeouts are more important than anything else right now. It's your only chance of getting back in this game. But no, he's got to make his little calls there. It was a collapse on every level of the organization, failing to do their job, and that is exactly what same old Lions was always about. Whenever it looks like they've got it right, someone doesn't do their job and calls a timeout when he doesn't have it, or throws a yellow flag when he doesn't have the right, or takes the wind. It's always something with this team where you don't just lose, you lose in the most spectacular fashion possible. That is the second biggest choke job in the history of the NFL. And then the only reason it's not the biggest is because the Falcons, who had a window, they were going to get back next year, blew a 28-3 lead and lost the Super Bowl, and Matt Ryan never sniffed it again. That's why I'm upset. Because, yeah, I get what Dan was saying. Hey, we're not guaranteed this. If I had to bet everything I own on the Lions getting back to an NFC title game in 5 years, yeah, I might be comfortable making that bet. There's no reason in the world for them not to do it. But what if they get in the NFC title game next year and it's at home, it's at Ford Field, and Jared Goff breaks his ankle? Just like it happened last year to the San Francisco 49ers, and then it was all over after that. There is no guarantee in this game they're going to get back to that spot. And there are recent examples within the last 20 years of teams that had a window, did it once, and then never did it again. And I wouldn't be as fired up about it if they weren't up by 17 points with 11 minutes left to go in the third quarter. They were that close to doing it, and then they just didn't. That's why I'm fired up. It's why I'm so pissed off about it. It's why I say it was same old Lions to a T, because it's what we've seen forever. Is the organization same old Lions? Clearly not. Clearly, this is not the teams of Matt Millen and Martin Mayhew and old man Ford sitting up there daydreaming all day. That's not what this is. But that game was same old Lions.
Same old Lions aren't even in that game, so I'm sorry. I just reject that completely. So,
what do you mean, same old Lions? They were in the game, and then they blew it in a span of 8 minutes. How is it not?
Same old Lions are not even in the fucking NFC Championship game. SOL is dead. It is dead. Just every bad thing that happens is not SOL. Like,
no, not every bad thing. But the second biggest collapse in the history of the NFL playoffs is absolutely SOL.
You know what it was? It was a bad 10 minutes. Everything that could go wrong went wrong in a 10-minute span. That
is the epitome of same old Lions.
No,
everything you just said, everything that could go wrong in a 10-minute span did. If we went back 24 months, we'll call it 27, when they were 0-10, and I told you, a team's going to play the absolute worst 10-minute stretch of they're going to be up 17 points. They're finally going to get their first one under Dan Campbell, and then they're going to play their 10-minute stretch of the worst ball they could possibly play and lose. You'd go, ho, 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 same old Lions. Why do I watch this shit? And I would have texted back, I effing quit. I'm not doing this anymore. See you next Sunday. Because that's what we did, and that's what you're doing right now. I'm not that upset about it. I can't wait for next year. I'll be back again because it gave me a little hope. And I'm going to be there too. And I'm not holding that against you that you're wrong to feel that way.
Right.
But it was same old Lions, and it broke my freaking heart.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I just completely, I don't use those words together anymore. Like, it's
okay. How woke of you?
No, I just, yeah, maybe I've just been listening to too much of Lenti lately, of screaming at people who bring it up, but there's separate things. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I think that's why too. It's not like, I don't know. Like I said, it was just, it was the equivalent of Brock Purdy breaking his arm the first play, in the first quarter of last year's NFC Championship. Like, sometimes shit just happens, and that's just kind of how it went. Like, you go, Josh Reynolds, who had been money on, especially when it comes to needing a first down all season long, and he drops the fourth down pass, and I agree with you about the play call on the third down prior to that, but I think he called that third down knowing that they were going to go for it on fourth down. So, like, it's kind of.
But you still have to put your guys in. You've got a Pro Bowl running back there and a guy who should have been in the Pro Bowl too. Like, that wasn't the time to get cute. That was the time. Look, we held them to a field goal. We've held them to 10 points at that point in the game. Just keep your foot on the gas and do it with the guys that are there to do that job. You needed a third and 12 converted, and you had to throw a little pass. You went to St. Brown and you did it because that's what he does. Give it to the guy you brought in to be the running back that breaks tackles and gets the extra 2 yards when he's hit at the line of scrimmage. But he didn't do that. And I don't want to belabor the field goal thing too much because, again, I don't agree with it, but I understand it. But as many people that say, well, the analytics were blah, 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 you should have gone for it. He's gone for it all these times, blah, 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 blah. Badgley couldn't be trusted. Badgley hits those at like a 75 to 80% clip in his career. And the Lions were 80% this year on going for it on 4th and 3. And those, like, they were equals to me at that point.
It was more like 86%, but yeah, go on.
The 3-score difference was more important to me. And yeah, he might not have made it, but he might have too. And that's the exact same thing you can say as, well, if Reynolds would have converted, we wouldn't be talking about this, but he didn't. So now we have to talk about it. It goes both ways.
It
right?
does, but yeah, I think people are just playing the results.
And I think the other thing, and Kittle kind of brought this up in the game about the analytics don't take momentum into consideration. A missed field goal is a little bit different than a 4th down stop. And I feel like the 4th down stop fired that crowd up. It fired the Niners up a little more. And then you follow that up with this goofy ass bouncing off the face mask play. And the game was over right there because all the momentum had shifted. You went from having a chance to put the game away to being on your heels in literally like 4 plays. And one of them was a turnover and downs. And the other was, I don't even know what they're going to call that catch, but whatever it is. Like,
See, I disagree about the momentum as far as I think a missed field goal is worse because they get the ball even further on closer to.
It's 7-10 yards. You're giving them the ball at midfield no matter what. Like, either way, you're playing a game of, like, Dan Campbell has to know if this 4th down pass doesn't work, I'm giving the best offense in football the ball at the 40-yard line.
Right, but like, to your point, what's the difference? That point, they held them to 10 points. Like,
which is why the 3 scores made all the difference to me. But that's why 3 scores make the difference.
Okay, but when going up 3 touchdowns, if they can continue that drive, wouldn't that make or at the very least continuing the drive and killing up even more clock so that when you do kick that field goal go up 3 scores, there's even less time on the clock?
That's all hypothetical. This is all hypothetical, I guess. But to me, the 3-point or the 3-score difference, I can say the same thing. Well, if they've got to make up 3 scores, does it really matter if you get an extra 90 seconds on this drive, or you force them to have to stop you 2 separate times for them to get 3 possessions to even have a chance? Which is going to take up more time, right? Them having to score 3 times, or you getting an extra 90 seconds on this drive because you converted on 4th down here, but then you got stopped. Or who's to say they get the 1st down and then Decker doesn't get a holding penalty and they get pushed? Like, we don't know, and that's why I'm like, you've got points in front of you. You've got a better than 75% chance at points in front of you, and those points make it so they have to score 3 times in the next. What was it, 26 minutes at that point? That's where I'm like, you take the points there.
I guess.
But again, I don't hate that he went for it. I get why. I get it.
Yeah. I would much rather when it's, if it was 4th and, or even if it was going to be a 38-yard field goal as opposed to a 48-yard field goal or whatever, or if it was it was 4th and 5, I would probably be more apt to say, yeah, kick it. But when it's, 4th and 3 or like, I'd much rather have the ball in Goff's hands than on the foot of Badgley or whoever the kicker of the month is.
I mean, not for nothing, but Badgley hit a 54-yarder in the Super Wild Card game. But it was indoors. He still did it. Like,
he also missed 2 extra points since he's been on the team.
Great. Again, why didn't Brad fucking find? I didn't want. Why didn't Brad find a kicker? We knew this was a problem in August. And the more egregious one is the 4th down later in the game when you're down 3 and a field goal at least makes it so, like, hey, if they come down and score, we've got a chance to get this thing back close.
See, and I don't get that argument either, because all that is people trying to make themselves feel better about, like, if they tie the game and then, the only reason why Detroit even got the ball back with the hope and prayer of trying to go down and score and then get the ball back and kick the field goal is because McCaffrey got that big 25-yard chunk run that shortened that drive up. If you kick the field goal, even if you make that field goal and you tie it, there's like 7 minutes left. Detroit's done it how many times? San Francisco could have just ran the clock out the way that they were rolling and scored and not left Detroit any time. Like,
they could have, but then at least your defense, if your defense makes a play and forces a fumble, gets an interception, well, then you've got the ball and everything is in your hands. You're not playing catch up at that point. You control. Hey, all we got to do is come down and get another field goal. You control the game at that point. Like, when you don't take those
to a field goal after the missed 4th down, they still got a chance to, like, we can play this if that game all we want.
My original point was, I think of the 2 4th down calls, I think not going for it when you're trailing is more egregious than not going for it when you had the lead and you're trying to end. Like, I get it. You're trying to end the game there. When you're trailing in the 4th quarter, you got to tie that game up. But that's not Riverboat Dan.
Yeah, I was on board with both of them. So, but that's just me. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I was definitely, obviously I was heartbroken and disappointed and everything, but I'm just not choosing not to live in a world where it's like doom and gloom.
It's not doom and gloom, but I think that's the best chance they're going to have of getting back, of doing that for a couple seasons.
Maybe. Or maybe they use this as fuel and they come out and kick everyone's ass next year.
You can say that, but I'm
not
don't
saying
know.
It's going to happen, but like, both things are like, I just don't.
What I know right now is there are significant holes on that team that need to be addressed, and there's no guarantee they're going to be able to address them. And next year they are going to play one of the toughest schedules in the entire league.
Sure.
And that's what I say. Like, and we don't know next year what the health is going to be. We don't know if someone even more important gets hurt next year. And we don't know any of those things. So, like, the season overall was what it was. It was great. But as a fan of this organization, who at the end of the day, all I really care about is I got to get one before I croak. Mm-hmm. I got to see it once. This is the best chance they've obviously ever had. And in the grand scheme of things, teams don't get a better shot than that.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks that our team didn't capitalize when they had the chance. And this idea that there's always next year, I think that's people trying to convince themselves. Maybe not people like you, but people who just jumped on in the last couple of years. Oh, there's always next year. We've got a great team. We're just going to come back. The reality of the situation is that's not the case at all.
Sure.
Go ask the Cincinnati Bengals about their window right now.
Okay, but they could very well just be the Niners too. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not going to worry about, well, they could never, like, I'm not going to worry about that until they don't ever get back. Then I'll worry about it. Like, worrying about it now is not going to do me any favors. Like, so that's just how that's just how I'm handling it. So, but
I think we've been going for a little bit.
Yeah,
I think CJ's played his last game here.
probably.
I I think Tracy Walker's done.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm vindictive. I tell Josh Reynolds to hit the bricks, even though Jared
Yeah.
left. I know, but I'm vindictive. I get it, but I don't know, and I don't know that
Are you
I
sending
don't know
Jameer
that they're
Gibbs packing too because he fumbled? Like that was
well,
worse than either.
I don't know that they're going to have money to sign Josh though, because it sounds like Jared's getting his deal, and it's going to be a big one. And it sounds like they're talking an extension with Amon Ra. I don't know that they're going to have the money right away to keep Josh because they've got Khalif coming back. JMO is clearly developing. Laporte is a monster. Amon Ra is going nowhere. Like, do you really want to pay your fourth or fifth receiving option $5 million when you could use that to maybe go get another defensive tackle or a rush end? It might be the difference in you landing L'Jarius Sneed or Jalen Johnson. Like, Josh might just have to go.
Maybe, but I also think, uh, I mean, obviously your upper echelon guys are going to want and deserve and need their money. But I also think that there's, especially guys who are already here, guys like Reynolds who are on the fringe, like they may well like I'll sign for $3 million to stick around. Um, so I
Maybe. I mean, look, go ahead.
I wouldn't count that out. I also don't. If he do, if he does, then great. I got no problem with it. I wouldn't be shocked if Goff ends up taking less than 50.
I will be. I
It
the
wouldn't
more I've thought about it,
it wouldn't surprise me if
I know
he does like a Brady. Not to the extent that Brady did, but
especially with this Ben Johnson thing today. Like, just no, never mind. I appreciate it, but I don't want to leave here yet.
mm-hmm.
I think that's also mouth service or lip service for fans too. When you look at the situations that were left, Seattle or Washington, the smartest thing he could do is just say, "I'm going to wait a year." And Dallas, Philly, Buffalo, Cincinnati, like there are jobs that could be open next year. They're a lot more
Mm-hmm.
attractive. Um, I get the sense of loyalty around here, but I think Jared Goff, even though everyone loves him here and believes in him, I'm guessing his agent's going to be like, don't give these people any favors because you saw what they did in Los Angeles. The minute they're done with you, they'll find a way. Hopefully, hey, for this franchise, I hope that's not the case, but I think Jared's going to get paid huge.
They could. I mean, the Rams paid him huge at the time. They signed him to a big extension at the time, and they still got rid of him. Like, just because you get
Sure.
signed huge doesn't mean a team's not going to get rid of you. So
No, that's fair. But yeah, he's look, the last two seasons, he's basically trails Mahomes and Josh Allen in all the major
sure.
categories.
No,
So
like I
like
said, if he gets 50 or whatever, fine, more power to him. It just means Holmes is going to have to be on his game, as far as, the cap gymnastics that some of these other teams are able to pull off to keep the team together and add the pieces that's necessary.
well, and I think
again, different, it's a different organization, and obviously with Mahomes you can do a lot more, but like they're the Chiefs just got the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes and a bunch of Scotch tape and a good defense, but outside of Chris Jones, who's like really making money on that defense, like
I think Sneed's got a decent cap hit. The cornerback, he's not making like Jalen Ramsey money either.
Right. So,
And real quick, like I think CJ not coming back helps too because that was
like
$6 to $8 million.
Yeah.
You were kind of thinking, well, they're going to pay him again. I don't think he's worth the headache. I don't think he's worth, I I really like his swagger. I like the way he plays at times, but I don't think he's a fit here. I don't, they said all week, or Campbell said it, I talked to him, you got to toe the line. And the first chance he got a penalty. I don't know if you saw his stat line in the game. He was PFF's worst rated player on the entire field. He recorded no tackles. He had 4 assists. And I saw someone breaking down the touchdown to Ayuk clearly happened because he left his zone when he wasn't supposed to. Like he was a negative on the field. And since he'd come back, he didn't really do anything of some. He caught a tipped interception. He didn't make any plays other than that. So I like the guy personally, but I don't see the need to deal with the antics for a lack of production.
Sure.
And the stuff with I didn't come here to be a part of a rotation. I didn't like that. I don't like I'm a vet, I'm a leader around here. You've been in the league 5 years and you played for 3 teams. You're not a vet. You've just been here a little longer because it's such a young team.
Sure.
Like I just I'm fine with him being arrogant and wanting to talk his trash to the other team, but when you're bringing your guys into it too, I don't think it's a fit here, and I don't think Campbell's going to be excited to keep him around, especially with the way if he played the last 6-7 weeks of the year.
Right. My worry is then you better if you don't bring him back and you don't bring Tracy Walker back, you better figure out who, if something happens, because the only reason why Iffy was able to come on is because, CJ was hurt and, so you just got to have a good third safety, Branch is going to be your nickel.
No, but that doesn't have to be the case if they can go get someone in free agency. And to your point about Goff taking less, I feel like there's going to be some free agents now that are like, I'll take a little less because Detroit's close. I want a ring.
Sure.
I think it's going to be easier for them to fill these holes than it was last year. Instead of getting like a Mosley who was coming off an injury, a Sutton who's coming, you're going to be able to call up, Jalen Johnson and say, hey, look, I know we're in the division. We can pay you just as much, and we're close. We're real close. And with you here, we can stop them from being on the rise.
Yeah.
So they can pay Goff and still get some players, but it's going to require, like I said, I think Tracy Walker's got to go. They're going to have to let.
Are like $100 million in over the cap every year when the season starts before the season,
right?
And they always manage to figure it out. So just keep kicking the can down the road.
Sure.
So works for the government.
Shock the world. We'll just trade Jared Goff to the Commanders, and we'll take Drake May.
There you go. No, we'll do. Who would be the staffer? Josh Allen. We trade him for Josh Allen in like 3 years.
I couldn't take it. Oh my God. Watching that guy play, oh my God, I'd put my head through a wall. If he were the quarterback of my team, I can't imagine.
What are you doing?
You moron. How about that Lamar Jackson throwing to triple coverage, huh?
Hey, but he threw a pass to himself, though. That was cool, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. I mean, it was pass interference, but whatever.
Yeah. The Chiefs is the Chiefs.
Yeah. I'm very excited for the Taylor Swift hype train for the next 2 weeks. I can't wait to.
Do you think she actually flies back for the Super Bowl?
Absolutely. She'll be back.
That's commitment. If she does,
yeah, because he's going to win the Super Bowl and then he's going to retire, and she's going to be there for it.
Right. What are the odds he proposes on the field?
I bet there's a bet there. I bet there's a wager out there. Someone's taking action on that.
Someone's got to. If it's not one of the sports books, some some seedy black market bookie is probably doing it.
Right. No, I'm curious to see how chaotic that whole scene is at the Super Bowl.
Have a little Taylor's plane tracker during the pregame show.
I hope they have a dedicated, like I was talking to Holly, I'm like, because it's on CBS, I'm like, if Paramount Plus knows what they're doing, they figure out whatever suite she's in, they have a dedicated Taylor Swift cam on Paramount Plus. You think Peacock sold a bunch of subscriptions for that playoff game? You charge $5 for that thing? People, there would be women and fans of hers all over the country that are watching the Taylor Swift camera on Super Bowl night.
You do what ESPN does with all the college football games. Well, even Monday Night Football. You do is so they're doing a Nickelodeon simulcast for the kids.
Yeah.
You do like they own MTV. Have MTV air the Taylor cam.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I was just thinking you put it on Paramount and you charge $5 for it.
Well, yeah, it'd be
you make $40 million.
It'd be
one
either
night.
way. Yeah. So, but all right, and we've been going. This is a long one. So, yeah, hell of a run though.
Oh yeah, great.
So, all right. Well, we'll be when do you get back?
Monday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we'll be.
Yeah,
back.
I'll be back in time.
All right, we'll be back next week then. Until next time, see ya.